Sam Darley here, and now I'm going to wrap up my division by division previews with the AFC South. A year ago, the Texans finished 9-7 with a minus 49 point differential, which was the worst among playoff teams in recent history. The Jacksonville Jaguars haven't had more than 5 wins since 2010 when they went 8-8. It's been 7 years, so they're looking to have a pretty decent season. The Tennessee Titans have a bright future. They acquired Eric Decker. They've got a lot of. They drafted offense heavy to help Marcus Mariota's development, and then you got the Colts with luck. So how do we see this division being played out? Or at least how do I see this division being played out? Well, the Texans have one of the best defenses in pro football. They lost quite a lot of people in the secondary, so their secondary has become a lot weaker. They do get Kevin Johnson back. They got J.J. Watt back. They traded 13 spots to take Deshaun Watson, in my opinion, the best quarterback prospect from the draft. And they still got Lamar Miller. Bill O'Brien trying to win more than 9 games for the first time in his pro football coaching, head coaching career. And he's doing it in one of the weakest divisions in all of football. That being said, where do I stand with the Texans? The Texans, I think, are half Super Bowl contender, half playoff contender. Why do I say half Super Bowl contender? Well, because their defense showed against the Patriots, they can shut down any offense. They could shut down any team at any given point in the season, including the playoffs. But their offense was just too inept to really beat New England and Foxborough last year. Remember Brock Osweiler? They signed him to a $72 million deal. They ended up shipping him to Cleveland, which is equivalent to sending somebody to prison for life. It's in my opinion, because Cleveland is terrible. But anyways, they did get Deshaun Watson, thanks to Cleveland being generous enough to trade the 12th pick in the draft. Houston moved up from 25th. They moved 13 spots. They took, like I said, the best quarterback prospect that ever. I mean, the Texans usually don't make this kind of move. I thought they would take in T.J. Watt. I thought they were going to do what they usually do, take defense, but they went offense. They got the quarterback of the future. Tom Savage is named the starter, but we all know, and I hate to say it, but Tom Savage has yet to prove that he can stay healthy long enough to really know what he is. Although when he did play last year in place of Brock Osweiler, he didn't light up the stat sheet, he didn't light up the scoreboard, but he did the one thing that Brock Osweiler couldn't do, and that was take care of the football. He had 0 turnovers. He's only had, I think, 2 interceptions in his entire career, but he's only played like 3 or 4 games. He does have a strong arm. He's pretty accurate. The Texans' offensive line is isn't the strongest offensive line in pro football. They didn't really address it in the offseason, which is going to be a huge problem, which is why I think taking Deshaun Watson makes a lot of sense, because his athleticism and strength alone can mask a lot of the problems in the offensive line. Plus, I think the fact is that Bill O'Brien's offense is designed for the quarterback to get rid of the ball quickly, which will limit the hits, limit the damage. So, that being said, the Texans, do I think they can win more than 9 games this year? They have one of the toughest schedules in all of football. They've made the playoffs the last couple of years. They've got to try and get over the hump and try and beat the New England Patriots. The Patriots are the only team really standing in the Texans' way, other than the quarterback position. If Houston had a quarterback like a Luck or a Rodgers or a Brady, we're having a totally different conversation. We're probably talking about them going for the 3rd or 4th consecutive Super Bowl championship. That's just how good the Texans are. And like I said, they got Clowney and Watt. Can they keep those guys healthy? Their defense is elite. Their run game is very good. I think Houston, those 2 things alone will give Houston a shot in this division. Now, moving on to the Titans, the Titans have been quietly building a very good team. In fact, I think they could be a powerhouse in a couple of years. They got a good young quarterback in Marcus Mariota, who is not commanding a lot of money right now. They've built the roster nicely. They understand they're playing in the same division as J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney, so what did they do? They went and got offensive line help. So, their defense is a lot better than recent years. They're solid defensively. They've improved their offensive line. They have just got to keep Marcus Mariota upright for 16 games. They finished with the same record as the Texans. It came down to the matchups. Houston won one, Tennessee won the last, but Houston had a better conference record and did better in common games than Tennessee, so Houston took the division. So that being, and of course Houston beat the Cincinnati Bengals, thanks to Randy Bullock. But Houston and Tennessee, they're the two presumably favorites in my opinion. I think the Colts, if Luck is 100% healthy, you have to understand with Andrew Luck, and I felt this way since he was drafted. I think going to the Colts was a huge mistake, and re-signing with the Colts was an even bigger mistake for his career. Why? Because I think he's consistently living in the shadows of Peyton Manning. Everything he does in Indianapolis is compared to Peyton, and that's just not fair. And I think it's taking somewhat of a mental toll on him. I think he's having to I think he feels like he has to do everything, and he does, because the Colts really are a mediocre team. But, without Luck, sorry. And really, they don't have much. They don't really have much talent. They got weaker on offense. They lost Colby Fleener to the Saints a couple years ago. They've lost Dwayne Allen this year. So realistically, it's T.Y. Hilton and Andrew Luck trying to do all the damage. Moncrief is a very solid young receiver, but Luck is coming off a bad shoulder injury. He might not even play week 1. So the question mark for the Colts is, should they trade Andrew Luck? I think they should. They're wasting his career. And honestly, Jim Irsay doesn't get it. He's not Peyton Manning. He'll never be Peyton Manning. But Luck alone literally making the Colts in the conversation for this division. Without Luck, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that the Colts would be 1, maybe 2 win type team. They're not good. They're terrible defensively. Their run game is meh. And like I said, they've lost quite a few talented players on offense, starting with Dwayne Allen, who's a very good tight end, and a very reliable tight end. He went to the Patriots. So the Patriots got stronger, and the Colts are weaker. The Texans are better. The Titans are better. And I think it's Houston and Tennessee, and I think Jacksonville and Indianapolis are going to be fighting for the scraps of this division. Jacksonville had every opportunity to move on from Blake Bortles, but new front office man, GM, President Tom Coughlin said that Blake Bortles is their guy, and as long as Bortles is their guy, they're not even in the conversation for this division. I don't think they needed Fournette. I think Yeldon is a star in the making, that they never gave him that shot, and they never really built their offensive line. Let's keep in mind that Tennessee built their offensive line because they understand they play in the same division as Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, and that bad boy linebacking crew of the Houston Texans. So they want to protect their quarterback. Well, the Jaguars have done the complete opposite. They've got Allen Robinson, Allen Hurns. Those are 2 stud receivers. That's a good receiving combination right there. That any other quarterback, not named Blake Bortles, will probably make the Jacksonville Jaguars a very explosive offense and a very, very good football team. They're trying to mask Bortles' flaws by adding a running back, but here's the thing. The Houston Texans have taken 2 running backs from LSU these past couple of years, and they haven't turned into anything more than below average. So what do I think of Leonard Fournette? He's much like the typical LSU back. He's powerful. He doesn't possess great speed. He's not really a patient runner. That's the thing with LSU backs. They try to hit the hole, and when they don't, they try to run through walls. Well, guess what? That might work in college, but this is a different ball game in the NFL.